Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, the site of round number 2 of the Amped Mobile AMA Supercross Lights West Coast Series. The fireworks are going off, and the biggest names in Supercross are being introduced to this large crowd that have packed this magnificent facility. But tonight, it's all about the West Coast Tour for the Light Series. Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen, alongside former Supercross Series champion Jeff Emick. The West Coast Tour got underway just last week in Anaheim, California. There was really no big surprise in the fact that Ryan Villopoto was the winner. Jeff, we all expected that, didn't we?
Well, I think so. He was definitely the odds-on favorite. One surprise was the French rider Pourcel coming through with the second place. Jason Lawrence, after having not such a good year last year, comes back and rebounds with the third in the opening round. It was pretty impressive.
Jeff and I get the advantage of sitting high above the field tonight, but working right down on the floor is our Erin Bates, and she's standing by with Ryan Villopoto for our Progressive Direct pre-race report.
Riding for a team that's produced more champions than any other Supercross Lights team in the history of the sport. I'm talking about none other than Ryan Villopoto, riding for the prestigious Monster Energy Co-Circuit Kawasaki team. Ryan, first off, congratulations on your victory last weekend. How much pressure is on your shoulders riding for such an accomplished team?
And every time I go out, I just want to go and do the best I can for the team. I was lucky enough to put one of the plates on the door with my name on it, so hopefully I can do it, for Supercross.
Now, what's the most valuable lesson that you learned from your rookie season last year that you're bringing into 2007?
Just kind of wait for everything to be brought to you. Don't go out there and get it all the time. You got to wait and see what happens out there. You just can't go out there and kill yourself on the first 5 laps when it's 15 laps.
Ryan Villopoto feeling confident, tons of speed coming here into the Chase Field.
Here's a look at our Supercross Lights 411 for tonight's show. We're going to have 2 heats. The top 9 will transfer straight to the main. There'll be one last chance qualifier. The top 4 from there will join our 22-rider 15-lap main event for round number 2. Well, we got a unique layout here for our race course in Chase Field. Earlier today, Jeff took a look at it.
Here we have the luxury of taking a practice lap with Troy Adams on the Rockstar Suzuki. Out of the first turn, there's going to be a rhythm section. There's 2 or 3 different ways to jump this. Head over the first triple into what I believe is going to be the most important whoop section on the track. A lot of rocks coming up. Look for some riders to get sideways through there. Another rhythm section. You can jump in 2 or 3 different ways also. We'll have to see how the fast line develops throughout the night. This corner is going to be significant because, as you notice, Troy is taking the outside line to get a drive going across this set of whoops. That's going to leave the inside line open before there. Look for a lot of block passing. Coming around, hit the finish line, and that's your Rockstar Suzuki's Troy Adams.
We'll be right back with more of the Amped Mobile AMA Supercross Lights West Coast action right after this. Supercross on Speed is brought to you by WholeShotHeaven.com, a new site for Supercross fans, brought to you by Progressive. By Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. By Amped Mobile. Go to amped.com and entertain yourself. And by Toyota, moving forward. Welcome back to Phoenix. Heat number 1 getting set to go. Here's Erin Bates.
Well, take a look behind me, guys. Look, he's back for action for number 24 of Josh Grant. If you remember what happened last weekend, he went down in practice. He stayed down for quite some time, got second in his heat race, opted not to race the main event. He went and got checked out with his local doctor, and the doctor finally released him to start riding again on Tuesday. He's battered, he's bruised, he's got a cracked rib and also a torn lung. He's not very excited to be here this evening, but he does want to give it everything he's got. You can expect the battle to heat up here tonight in Phoenix.
All right, there's a look at the starting gate, Jeff, as we get set to kick things off here in Phoenix. Let's show you our Supercross lights up close as we get set for heat number 1. 1 through 9 will transfer to the main event. 10 through 20 go on to the last chance qualifier. This is a 6-lap race. Here's our Dunlop starting grid for heat number 1. And Ryan Villopoto, last week's winner and the fastest rider here today, will have the first gate pick in heat number 1.
Yeah, I think you know, right now, Ralph, the riders have been sitting around for a little bit. They're going to be a little bit cold. They got their jackets on still here before this first race, but a couple laps into this heat race, they're going to be nice and warmed up.
Troy Adams is going to carry an onboard for us. There's a good look at Troy as he gets set. Riding the number 34 here today, and there's Villapoto. That number 51 is a number we're going to see a lot of. He was up front all last week on his way to victory. A lot of folks expecting him to do the exact same thing here in Phoenix.
And Ryan actually came into last week a little bit nervous because he's expected to win. And he was very dominant, but it's kind of funny for him to say that he was nervous about it.
The 30-second board is up. She'll turn it sideways and make her way off the racetrack, and we'll get underway once they drop the gate. A little bit different dirt here than what we saw last week in Anaheim. A little bit faster, everybody tells you.
Yeah, well, Anaheim had quite a bit of rock in it. The soil here is prepared really well. I think they got a good amount of water down on the track, so it should be a great night of racing.
Villapoto gets the whole shot.
That's the way you do it, Ralph. This is how you win championships.
Oh, big crash. Two riders down out of the triple. That's 177 crisp blows from right here in Phoenix. Taking a hard hit in front of the hometown fans.
Only a first couple of guys jumped that triple. After that, there was a couple of guys that didn't jump it, and I think we got into a where maybe somebody jumped on top of the next, and Chris Blows got the short end of the stick there.
And Villapoto starting to open up a bit of a gap already.
This is a great section down through there. The riders can jump in 2 or 3 different ways. Both of the rhythm sections this week have produced a lot of questions. Which way, as the night progresses, is going to end up being the fastest way.
Steve Boniface on the 141, another Kawasaki rider, runs in second place. Let's take you back to the beginning of this. This is where that crash took place.
You notice the rider in second did not jump, or I'm sorry, third did not jump the triple. Blows just landed right on the right side of him. He was lucky he didn't go down also.
Now watch the view from Troy Adams' onboard camera.
Stuck back in the pack here. Notice a couple of guys on the brakes. You see just off to the right of the screen. Whew, that was ugly.
Back to the battle for third place. The 74, that's Kyle Partridge, and he's fighting with the 24, Josh Grant. Remember, as the rider's name scroll across the top of the screen, those in green hold transfer positions. Those in red looking to improve themselves and trying to maybe stay out of a trip to the last chance qualifier.
Take a look at the rider on the blue Yamaha here, Dusty Klatt. That's a rider that left Anaheim 1 with some serious scars on his body. Went down in a similar accident over one of the triple jumps, and just, I mean, he had burns and rubber bruises all over his body. Good to see him racing again here this weekend.
The riding gear that these riders wear actually does do quite a bit for safety. It's not like in road racing, it's not made out of leather, but they do have a lot of stuff in that riding gear that does help.
Well, there's a lot of different choices for the riders as far as chest protectors and under armor, if you will. A lot of riders still, though, like to just wear a jersey on the top. The riding pants are pretty technical, but on top it's still just a nylon jersey. And, unless you're wearing some sort of chest protector, back protector, not really a lot there.
Back up front, Ryan Villapoto goes down. Villapoto is down, and that's how you lose a championship, Jeff.
Yeah, it looks like this rhythm section out of the first turn got the best of him. There's, like we said, there's 2 or 3 different ways to jump this. Maybe one of the ways that he was jumping it was a little more than what that 250F, required more power than what it had to offer.
Let's see what happened to Villapoto. He went down.
Take a look. He comes into the first turn, wheelies the first one, just wheelies into the second jump, and then goes for a wild ride.
Down went Villapoto. He's back up and racing, and we're coming right back. A good look high above Chase Field here in Phoenix, Arizona. Steve Boniface on the 141 is your current leader, but here comes Josh Grant on the red 24 inside to take over the lead here in heat number 1. Boniface jumps himself right back into the top slot.
Man, these guys are duking it out. I'm telling you, through that last rhythm section, they both took a different line. Woo.
Checkered flag for Boniface. Grant will take second. Villapoto had fallen back to ninth, but that's still good for transfer if he can hold that spot. And he will just make it across the line in ninth, avoiding a really potential disaster, Jeff, of being stuck in the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, and you would think that he's going to go through the LCQ, no problem, but it gives you a bad gate pick in the main event.
Here's a look at the unofficial results from heat number 1. Remember, the top 9 transfer straight to the main event. That means Steve Boniface to Ryan Villapoto are all going on. Bradley Graham and the rest will make their way to the last chance qualifier. Let's head down to the victory podium with Aaron Bates.
Well, he got the first race jitters out of the way last weekend, and he's coming in here with a whole new attitude and a new team this year. Steve, obviously the temperature has dropped out here tonight. How different is the track from this afternoon?
The track is pretty much the same. We got a little surprise at the beginning because they groomed it, and with a 250F it was kind of tough to do some jumps, but after being careful, like the first few laps, I could get a good rhythm and get that win, so that's pretty good, and it's good for the main.
11th place last weekend, and he's looking to make a podium this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Boniface.
Great racing action already tonight with heat number 1 for the West Coast Series. Of course, the East Coast Series will begin a little bit later this year. You'll see all of their action as well here on Speed. We are the home of the Supercross Light Series. Now it's time for a preview of the upcoming 2007 season for the Supercross Light Series. Defending Lights champions Davey Millsaps and Grant Langston are moving up to the Supercross class. That means that any one of a dozen or more hopefuls will fight it out for the 2007 East and West titles. The top title contender in the West is 2006 National Motocross Lights champion Ryan Villapoto. Villapoto got his first Lights win in Dallas last year and looks poised to chase down the championship in 2007. Villapoto will be challenged by Sobi Samsung Mobile Honda's Josh Grant. The Red Rider has 3 career Light wins. Another 3-time Lights winner, Josh Hansen, will have extra motivation to win in 07 with a Supercross-only deal. Hansen's teammate on the West Coast, Martin Davalos, comes into Phoenix having won the Toronto Lights race and will certainly be a threat in the States. Chris Gosseler finished second in the Lights East Championship last season and will look for his first Lights win and the #1 plate in 2007. Throw in the unpredictable weather and riders like Tommy Hahn, Josh Hill, Troy Adams, and rookie Kyle Cunningham. And the West promises to be a knockdown, dragged-out fight to the finish. Garnering the attention in the East is a former champion and last season's East-West Shootout runner-up. Brandon Jessamine returns to the scene of his 2003 Supercross Lights East Coast title and has the most success with 4 career wins. However, his last win was 4 years ago. The #1 title contender appears to be Mike Alessi. Alessi comes off a second-place showing in the 2006 Lights National Motocross Championship and the runner-up finish at the East-West Shootout. But before Alessi can begin to chase the #1 plate, he must first attain that elusive first Lights win. Other front runners will be Brent Metcalf, Ben Townley, Billy Laninovich, Brock Hepler, Kelly Smith, Ryan Sipes, and rookie Ryan Dungey. Sipes is coming off a win in Vancouver, with Team Makita Suzuki's Dungey taking second place. The Light Series will conclude in Vegas at the annual East-West Shootout in May. Tonight, Speed brings you unprecedented coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Superstars from NASCAR, sports cars, and open wheel put their racing skills to test. Live coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona continues tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on Speed. Here's our up-close look at Supercross Lights Heat number 2. Again, we'll take 9 riders to the main, everybody else to the last chance qualifier. This will be a 6-lapper as well. Christophe Purcell is in this one, and we expect to see a lot of him before this heat race is over. Here's our Dunlop starting grid. Some other names in here to keep an eye on. Josh Hansen on the KTM, very strong, as is Chris Gosselaar on the 102. The gate is dropped and we're underway. Oh, contact. Oh, and off goes one rider hard. The 622, that's Martin Davalos. Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle Cunningham.
What a fantastic start he had. Just got pushed wide there in the second turn by the Lights veteran, Josh Hansen, and he is no stranger to contact.
Kyle Cunningham remounts his machine, gets back underway, but instead of having a great hole shot, he's at the tail end of the field.
Yeah, he only doubles through the rhythm section. You see Hansen get to the inside of him, and he just went straight and pushed him off the track.
So Hansen out front, getting the challenge from the 377 of Purcell. Here he comes on that Kawasaki.
Yeah, Purcell was unbelievable in the qualifying sessions, set the fastest time, looked really comfortable. So I look for him to have a great night here in Phoenix.
Now this rider is not supposed to be sticking around for the whole West Coast tour, but there is a possibility if Purcell's in good position, he could stay.
Yeah, he is scheduled to ride the MX2 World Championship, but you never know when if a rider has a points lead, that tends to change people's minds.
He's got a transfer position right now to the main event. Remember, those are the riders across the top of the screen listed in green. Here comes Purcell. Great move to take over the lead from Hansen on the KTM.
What a drive he had going through the whoop sections after the triple and just got to the inside of Hansen.
The KTM rider back in front, but for how long?
These guys, they're making some block passes, but they're keeping it really clean. If you notice, Ralph, they never made any contact with each other. They were giving each other a lot of room. Both these guys realize that being on the ground is not good for either one of them.
Purcell continues to lead here at Phoenix, but this one got off to a rough start at heat number 2. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. A good battle in the front of the field. Hill on the 58 trying to hold on to third over Lemoyne, who runs back in fourth on the 630. And Lemoyne was a rider who surprised a lot of folks with a great run last week at Anaheim.
Yeah, he definitely did. One guy that did not have a good ride at Anaheim last week was the rookie Josh Hill. He looked very uncomfortable all weekend. He has definitely made some changes in his program this week and seems to be having a fantastic heat race, and that's a great way to start the second round of the series.
There's Josh Hill on the 58, Matt Lemoyne right behind him. Again, they're fighting over fourth position. Racetrack a little different than what we saw last week as well.
I think a lot of the riders thought that Anaheim 1 was very difficult, a little bit too tough a track, but this track seems to be pretty fast, like this section here out of the first turn. Really fun rhythm section for the riders going through there. And Josh Hill just nailed it that lap. I don't think he's going to be happy with second here. I think he still wants to win this heat race in the last half a lap.
And he's catching Purcell as the battle for the lead makes its way around on the final lap.
Well, and riders know also, Josh Hill knows that Purcell had the fastest qualifying lap time, and so he knows that if he's catching him, he's doing something right.
Purcell in the lead. Hill runs in second. Hansen is in third. Lemoyne back to fourth. Martin Davalos, the winner earlier this year in Toronto, back in fifth. Checkered flag for Purcell. He's going on to the main event. Here's the battle for the final transfer spot. Darian and Owens. Darian on the 725, Owens on the 80.
Man, these guys are really messing around and going backwards. If you took this lap time, it's going to be pretty slow. They were block passing each other.
That's Darian on the 725. Oh, he stumbles. And the position goes to Owens, who gets the last transfer spot straight to the main. Heat number 2 is in the books. Christophe Purcell will be listed as the winner. Richie Owens will be listed as the last to transfer straight to the main event, and Logan Darian will join the rest in the last chance qualifier. Christophe Purcell now gets to stop at the victory podium and talk to Aaron Bates.
Well, he says his English is a little bit rusty, but that's okay because he's going to let the racing do the talking for him. Christophe, coming here, you wanted to learn. Did you expect it to be a little bit tougher here in America?
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. It was a great race. Here in America, it's pretty hard. You have just 6 laps, and many rider is aggressive, and you take many mistakes, but I prefer ride in the main event, and we will see later.
He had the fastest time in practice today, and he's excited to do it again in the main event.
Do you live and breathe motorcycle racing? Now you can get the latest race results and news right on your phone with weekly green alerts from Speed. Text KX to 773333 on your mobile phone to receive free motorcycle racing test alerts. Speed Green Alerts presented by Kawasaki. Here's our Dunlop starting grid for the last chance qualifier. Logan Darian, Bradley Graham, Marvin Musquin, Michael Willard, Chris Gosler, a surprise in the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, definitely not the way that you want to go into the main event, but nonetheless, needs to get a good hole shot here in the LCQ and secure his place on the gate for the main.
Chilly night here in Phoenix. Riders having to work hard to stay warm before they even get into the gate. Looks like Chris Gosler gets the hole shot on the 102, but he's going to fall back to second. On the right of your screen, here he comes again to try to retake the spot.
It's not too bad of a start there. He was back out on the outside a little bit, but gets into the lead here. What Gosler's going to want to do is put down some good lap times to try to get in that race mode for the main event, because Gosler's he's a podium contender here in the lights class. Looks like he's just going to get a little bit of extra practice here tonight.
Ryan Grantham out of Willis, Texas on the 294 runs in second place. Kyle Cunningham on the 622 holds down third.
Nice to see Cunningham come back after that pretty violent crash going off the track in the heat race when he had the hole shot. Good to see that he's not hurt and that he's going to rebound.
Cunningham with that hole shot in that heat really was off to a tremendous start. Stood a real good shot of transferring straight to main even if he didn't win. Yeah, well,
he's a pretty little guy. I'd venture to say he doesn't weigh more than about 135 pounds, so that 250F will pull him to the start or to the first turn pretty quick.
He'll take over second place.
You know, one of the things for these young riders like Cunningham, he's a rookie, but there's also some of the other riders that find themselves in the LCQ. There's no way to gain the experience of running a 15-lap main event and experience the crowd and everything that goes along with that unless you get there. You just can't practice for that. So it's so important for these rookies to get in there, and for some of the riders a little bit further back, for them to advance their racing career.
Past the mechanics area, headed over to the finish line jump. White flag is out. Last lap in the last chance qualifier. Remember, those riders' names in green across the top of the screen hold the transfer position.
Gosler right now, last lap was a 45.2 seconds. 45 seconds in only a 4-lap race. That's why the start is so important in this lights LCQ.
Looking back to the 725 of Gary, and he holds that final transfer spot.
Willard sitting in 5th right now. If you remember him from up in Canada, had a couple of good rides, which was more like a warm-up for the lights class. None of the points counted.
Checkered flag falls, and Gosler takes the win. Here's that final transfer spot. Right now, Logan Darien holds it. He crosses the finish line jump and wraps it up. And there's Chris Gosler going on to the main. Motorcycle racing? Now you can get the latest race results and news right on your phone with weekly green alerts from Speed. Text KX to 77333 on your mobile phone to receive free motorcycle racing test alerts. Speed Green Alerts presented by Kawasaki. Check this out, the Red Bull Air Force Jump Team in spectacular fashion, bringing in the ceremonial green flag for the racing tonight right through the hole in the roof here at Chase Field. That was pretty cool, and they caught it all on videotape too. Look at that helmet cam. Great stuff here in Phoenix. Here's a Progressive Direct pre-race report with Aaron Bates.
Well, I got to tell you guys, a guy that royally impressed me last weekend at Anaheim, and his very first Supercross at that, is this kid right here aboard the Star Racing Yamaha, the 630 of Matt Lemoyne. He came in, he got a 3rd place in his heat race and a 7th overall. And when I asked him this afternoon, was it what he had expected coming in and racing with the pros, he said, you know, I wasn't that nervous. He said, I was more anxious to get out there and get going. And this weekend, he said he's much more prepared. He went riding every single day. He's been based in Phoenix this week riding. He is ready for this more than ever, and he said if he can just get a couple more races under his belt, I can expect to see him up on the podium.
Thanks, Aaron. There's a good look at Matt, ready to go in the gate. And here's our up close in our Dunlop starting grid. Christoph Purcell, one of the riders you think stands a very good chance and maybe taking the win out from underneath Ryan Villapoto.
I think Purcell, he just showed a lot of confidence, was super fast throughout qualifying, won that heat race. I think that he definitely has the momentum. It'd be interesting to see if our points leader, Ryan Villapoto, can recover from that heat race mistake, get back up on the top of the podium again tonight. Here we got Troy Adams on board camera. You can see he's tucked way on the left side of the gate on the inside. If you look up there, he's going to have to get out, get the jump on everybody else to his right, and move over a little bit, or he's going to get pinned against those tough blocks. And we've showed that you get pinned against those tough blocks going into the first turn, usually you're going down.
Well, how is Ryan Villapoto going to bounce back? There he is. And the whole shot goes to the KTM rider. Looks like Hansen.
Davalos
No,
with the hook.
It was Davalos.
Look at Purcell getting up the inside, taking the lead.
Davalos on the orange KTM in second. There is the 3.77 of Purcell. He's leading.
I tell you, I think we're going to have to get used to saying this French rider's name because he's got great starts. He's putting together terrific lap times. We've got some of the other championship contenders are tucked back in the pack a little bit. He's already got a couple second lead. Nice and comfortable through that first whoop section that the riders will see on each lap.
Martin Davalos won the race in Toronto, opening up lights competition for this season. Of course, that was a non-points race, but it was a huge momentum boost for this rider.
Well, he's definitely going to try to use some of that experience that he gained here and feeling comfortable running up front with the top guys. Looks like he's got a lot of pressure on his back wheel there from a couple of Yamaha riders.
How's the track holding up tonight, Jeff?
Well, there's a couple of spots on the inside of the turns where the dirt is actually worn away and they're down to the concrete, the floor of the stadium. That's gonna be a problem in some of these tight turns. Actually, this very next turn that Davalos is coming up to.
Lemoyne pushing Davalos hard.
He's adapting pretty quick here. He said he needs a couple of races under his belt to get on the podium. Right now, he's sitting in third place.
Let's take a look at our Progressive Direct hole shot replay. To see this and other hole shots from throughout the season, visit holeshotheaven.com.
Yeah, Davalos just got out of the gate perfect and took that hole shot.
Here's Josh Grant on the 24, off into the tough blocks he went. Really struggling to get his year going.
Yeah, Grant was one of our favorites for the championship here and has not had a very good start to the season, but one rider that has is Purcell.
Well, there's Villapoto. He's buried back in 7th, Jeff.
Squares it up. He's going to try to get a drive down the right side here. It's really messy there. He's got Boniface and Jason Lawrence just in front of him, and these guys are riding all over the place, trying to sort themselves out through the beginning laps here.
Boniface is on the 141. Lawrence, the blue riding here on the 338.
The rider that we have is Dusty Cladd up there in 4th place. Great recovery after Grant start last week.
That was Grant with the problem again as Villapoto comes up to challenge Boniface.
I venture to say he's gonna, well, didn't,
oh, down goes Lawrence.
It looks like Lawrence and Cladd that got together. This is that corner before the second set of whoops that, if you remember on our Troy Adams hot lap, I said that the inside would be wide open. Everybody goes wide leading into those whoops. Looks like Lawrence just stuffed it in there and took them both down. Consequently, it's taken them from being way up front to being 13th and 14th. Both riders being on Yamahas, I can't think the Yamaha camp is going to be too happy about that.
Here's Davalos, still fighting with Lemoyne.
Here goes that inside line. The block pass I was talking about, you just have to go wide before those whoops to have any sort of drive going across them, and that just leaves the door wide open for a block pass like that.
Well, this is a great race to get your first-time win. In fact, I don't know if you remember this or not, but Jeff, you got your first Supercross Lights win right here in Phoenix on a Yamaha, and a pretty good battle with Jeremy McGrath throughout the course of the year. However, you came up 3 points short that season.
Well, it was actually my first Lights win on a Yamaha. I won a couple races in '90, but the Phoenix, when we used to race at Sun Devil Stadium, I grabbed a main event there that was meant a lot to me, meant a lot for my confidence.
Here's Villapoto coming up through the field, and he picks off Davalos. Now he's going after Lemoyne. We'll see if he can catch him when we come back to Phoenix for more of the West Coast Series round number 2 after this. underway here inside Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. Two Kawasaki's leading here. Kawasaki of Christophe Purcell out front.
And this rider, Ryan Villapoto, coming from way back. Purcell starting up front and wheeling away. He's got about a 10-second lead right now. We'll see if Villapoto can put together some hot laps here. He's got about 7 more laps. See if he can catch our leader. But of course, as I predicted, he's having a fantastic race. And with only a few laps to go here, showing that he definitely needs to be transported from France and brought over here to ride for the Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki full time.
Well, as you mentioned last week, it's difficult for the European riders to get much practice in Supercross.
Yeah, because they have to ride so much motocross for the World Championship.
Villapoto doing everything he can to catch the leader.
Watch Ryan, he's just coming into the whoops there, catches one of the edges. He's all over the place right there. That was a close one, Ralph. Really letting it hang out tonight in Phoenix.
Purcell working through the field. Lots of traffic. Let's see how far back Villapoto is to Purcell. There goes Purcell over the finish line jump. 5 laps remaining. Here comes Ryan into the rhythm section.
It looks like letting it hang out is working. He picked up about a second and a half that lap. So he's going to have to do a little more than that if he's going to have a chance at winning this main event. But these guys have hit some of the lapped riders. If the lappers get in the way and you miss one of these rhythm sections, you end up having to double where you should triple through. It can really cost you. And that's where Ryan's going to look to make up that time. And it's always the guy in second has an easier time getting through the lappers. The guy in first, he's the first guy through. Some of the guys don't like to get out of the way. We'll see how this plays out.
Now where's third? There's Lemoyne on the 630. The Yamaha rider having a great run here in Phoenix.
Yeah, Lemoyne was a pretty incredible amateur rider. Got a chance here to ride the lights class with Yamaha and is definitely making the best of it. It's not taking him 2 or 3 races like he thought. He's doing it here tonight.
Oh boy, he almost went over the bars there, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a close ride, just clipping that last whoop. And fortunately, he got that right foot down on the rear brake and got that Yamaha stopped in time.
Let's take a look at the battle for 6th place. Josh Hansen holds that position right now on the 100 KTM. Hansen being chased by Martin Davalos, who's falling way back through the field. And Hill behind him, and Troy Adams carrying the onboard.
Wow,
and
you
Adams
noticed
goes around him.
Yeah, Davalos missed the finish line jump for some reason. It's a pretty basic jump, and for some reason, that right there is where Troy Adams sneaks by him.
Well, he's really dropped like a rock. Maybe some sort of a mechanical issue.
Maybe mechanical, maybe mental. It's hard to say unless you interview him after the race, but looks like the pressure of running up front might have got the best of him.
The battle for third rages on. Gosler of the 102 sliding his way up. He can make this all 3 Kawasaki's up on the podium, and Kawasaki reached a landmark last week in Anaheim, becoming the first manufacturer to get 100 wins in Supercross Lights competition. Oh, Gosler, he gets it done, and Lemoyne has trouble.
Barely keeps it on 2 wheels. You know, I'm sure that Mitch Payton over at that Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki team gave Gosler a little kick in the rear. Hey, we need you to get to this main event. We don't need you going through these LCQs. Get it together tonight. Consequently, he's moved himself up into a podium position.
Let's see what happened to Martin Davalos.
Comes in there to the finish line turn. Looks pretty comfortable. And he just looks like Ralphie just hit some of those acceleration bumps coming up and just lost the drive and didn't do the finish line.
Here's our leader, Christophe Purcell, on the final lap to the checkered flag, and he's done it. He's won an AMA Supercross Lights West Coast Series event. Round number 2 goes to Christophe Purcell.
What a fantastic ride for the Frenchman. Only took him 2 races to get on top of the box. And if you'll notice, we should have Chris Gosler come across in 3rd place. All 3 riders, same team.
Speed's coverage of the Amps Mobile AMA Supercross Lights from Phoenix is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. By Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, accelerate your soul. By Amps Mobile, go to amps.com and entertain yourself. And by Toyota, moving forward. It's been an absolutely great night of Supercross Lights West Coast Series action here in Chase Field. And the Frenchman, Christophe Purcell, takes the win. As we take a look at the results, Purcell, his first victory in only his 2nd race. Villopoto, been a bumpy night, but he comes home with the 2nd. That'll keep him right in the thick of the points chase. And of course, the Pro Circuit Kawasaki team taking all 3 podium positions. Well, here's Aaron Bates with the top 2.
Well, he came to America to learn and to have fun, but with a ride like that, Christophe, is there anything else to learn?
Yeah, I didn't know what I need to learn here, but it's good. It was a great race, and I like ride with Ryan. We can do the good battle together. Maybe next week. I don't know.
Congratulations on a victory. And how about this guy, Ryan Villopoto? Ryan, you had a bit of a tougher time this weekend. Starting at the back of the pack, you were struggling tonight.
Yeah, you know, actually in the qualifier I went down, so put me in like 9th place overall, so at least I qualified, you know, and so put me back in gate pick. So I started outside and then got pinched off. So I was quite a ways in the back and had to work my way forward, and then you know, Christophe rode good. As soon as I got into 2nd, you know, I was checking to see where he was even when I wasn't in 2nd, so just to see if I could catch him, you know. He broke away, and you know, I couldn't have done with all my sponsors, Mom and Dad, Lord Jesus, for keeping me safe. You know, my grandma and grandpa's here. There's a couple of people from my family here. You know, all the people at Monster Energy, Pro Circuit, Kawasaki, Jeff Fox and Parts Unlimited, Thor, Maxima, Bridgestone, Doug from Bridgestone. Tires are awesome. Scott, Vans, and KMC, and Amp Mobile. Thanks, guys.
Monster Energy, Kawasaki, a clean sweep on the podium here tonight.
It was a great night for that team. Well, this is just another stop on the road to Vegas. We're headed there the first weekend in May. We sure hope you can join us inside Sam Boyd Stadium for what will be the East-West shootout for the Light Series. If you can't join us there, make sure you join us with our live television coverage. Here's a look at the point standings with 2 races in the books. Tied, dead even at top. Ryan Villopoto and Christophe Purcell, 2 winners so far this season. Josh Hansen sits in 3rd. Aaron.
Well, I tell you what, he's smiling now, but he wasn't earlier. Chris Gosler, you pulled it together when it finally counted in the main. What happened when you went back to the pits after your LCQ to make you come out swinging?
I just went back there and drank a Monster, got a little jolt in me. It worked.
Tell us a little bit about the track out there tonight. We know it's extremely slippery, but how rough are the conditions?
Man, it's really slick, and there's a lot of holes everywhere. It was a tough race, hard not to make mistakes. I made a few, and I mean, I got a bad start, but I charged the whole time, and just like thank my team for being behind me. I couldn't have done without Monster Energy, Pro Circuit, Thor, Parts Unlimited, Alpine Star, Bridgestone Tires for getting me out to the start, and just everybody around me that helps me out.
I tell you what, there's a lot of Monster Energy drinks being drank here this evening, and the celebration's going to be on for Monster Energy Kawasaki.
Is the passion for 2 wheels in your blood? Well, now you can get all the breaking news, in-depth analysis, and more with the Motorcycle Racing Report, only at SpeedTV.com. Keyword green, presented by Kawasaki. Well, the Monster Pro Circuit team has swept the first 2 rounds of the season for the West Coast Tour, and all 3 spots on the podium tonight. For Aaron Bates and Jeff Emick, I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long from Phoenix.